It's 4 o'clock on a Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woohoo! Almost didn't find my fake audience. And thank you, fake audience, and thank you, fake band. Let us see who is in the chat room and ready to rock this show. We have Ian Shortall, Bob Gunnerfelt, Akira Canyon, Dan Weber, Martin Gravel, Nancy Kalel. It's funny, the same people show up in almost the same order every day. Darren Moss. Hello, Darren. Happy Friday to you in New Zealand. Spiritual. Hello, Jesse J. Peck. Here and accounted for. And who else? There's Ariana. Hello, Ariana. Dean Turner. Martin Gravel, Andrei Stepanian. Oh, you're in Australia. That's right. I don't know why I thought you were in New Zealand. That's right. Hello, Lori Wynn. Okay. So, is JP okay? Yes, I texted him last night. He answered me early this morning and said, on a project. So he's fine. He's alive. He doesn't have the COVID. Hello, Edmund, Peter Rahill, Pierre, Alex Dillon, John Hemingway, Daryl Berman, Mark Reel. Mojo Bone I did not reach out to. Hello, Keith. How are you? Anyway, I want to warn everybody about something that's really dangerous. These guys, Trader Joe's coffee, chocolatey, espresso beans. Wow. They're so good. You can't stop eating them. You eat a whole bag full of these things. It's like chugging a 6-pack of Rockstar or drinking 4 cups of coffee. You definitely don't want to break those things out after 6 p.m. at night. Probably not after 3 p.m. I'm not bouncing off the walls, but just intensely wired. How can we get to the live video before the notifications are sent? I don't know. Ariana can probably answer that better than I. Hello, Mark Dolan, Dave Merkel, Alan McCool, Jess Kerrigan. Okay. Caffeine will make the heart rate go up. Yes. Hello, Jim Stamper. So I actually have a theme for today's hangout. I want to know, what are your goals? Hello, Pete Mason, Ron Schultz. What are your goals? Yeah, let's start with that. Follow our Twitter or Facebook pages. We post a link to the show every day. Well, there you go. Okay, well, we've solved that problem. A drinking game every time Michael says goals. Oh man, I'm afraid to even go to Twitter anymore. It's depressing. It really is. It's like there's a civil war raging on Twitter all the time. Okay, so what are your goals? You know, I don't know that I've ever asked you guys that. I'd like to know who I'm hanging out with 5 days a week. Hello, Jan. Okay, 1,000,000 streams on Spotify. There's a man that wants to make enough money to buy lunch at McDonald's. To write like a professional and get stuff in sync. More deals, more placements, better placements. at least one placement. Hello, Richard Carr. Okay, placements, jazz album launch for Pierre. Let's see. Keith LeBrant. Continue to make music and money. Have that help me retire. Okay, they're coming in a little fast now. Hello, Jonathan Morse. Hi, Heidi. Um, Goals in general, not necessarily as a taxi member, but goals within the music industry or your musical goals. Let's see. Try to make the best music I can. I bet if anybody's watching this video in the replay, they're going, "Why is it silent?" It's not. I'm just busy, damn it. Get some music videos made to my songs. Okay, that's a bunch of stuff. Good stuff. Um, okay. Uh, Taxi After Dark. Like, remember Playboy After Dark? Does that make me the Hugh Hefner of Taxi? Does that make my wife a Playboy bunny? I don't think so. I don't think she'd go for that. um, all right. Hello, Mark Wiggins. How are you? Uh, all right. Let's start at the top of this list and just, I'm going to try and go through as many of these today. I'm not sure that I've got answers for all of them, but this is interesting. You know, I feel like you guys get to hear me yap all the time, and I should wear a dressing gown. All right. So let's start at the top. The first thing I saw, and I don't remember, I couldn't write down names and get these written down, so you may want to raise your hand and say, that's me. Get 1 million Spotify streams. So, how do you get 1 million Spotify streams? If there was an easy answer to that, everybody would have millions of Spotify streams. But I will say that there are some really good videos about that, and some of the best advice I've seen on that subject is from the CD Baby newsletters that come out. I can't remember the guy's name that writes most of that stuff, but I've got a folder full of that kind of stuff, and for my money, his is the most concise, best worded, easiest to understand, and feels like it's the most actionable. Things that I would suppose about getting on a Spotify playlist is, I mean, there are ways to do it. You can try and get on other people's playlists. You could create your own playlist and put your own music on it. So, who was it that was Spiritual that said that? Okay. So, what kind of music do you do, Spiritual? Chris Robley, that's right. Chris Robley. He almost did the road rally last year, and I'm going to see if I can get him to do something for this year's road rally. Okay, Spiritual does hip hop. So, what is it that makes your hip hop, not just in your opinion, but what makes it different and better than all the other hip hop out there? What's your brand? What's your unique selling proposition? Why should I listen to your hip hop instead of somebody else's? Everybody's waiting for that answer. All my songs are clean. Well, there you go. I actually like that. Um, so that's your brand. Um, Clean hip hop, which I really like. I mean, a lot of the hip hop that I hear, frankly, is racist. It's sexist. It denigrates women. I don't like it. I may like it on a musical level, but don't like it on a lyrical level. Then other people would argue with me and say, "Hey, man, it's truth," which it is. Um, so, yeah, robots run Spotify. Robots run everything now. And frankly, AI has gotten so much better. Just in the last 6 months, I've noticed that things that are run by AI, I think, are giving better results than ever before. Um, so, you need, in order to get on Spotify playlists, um, I mean, people do build their own playlists on Spotify. You don't have to try and get on a Spotify generated playlist. You can build your own playlist on Spotify. So why don't you go on Spotify and see if there is a clean hip hop playlist? And if there's not, or if there aren't many, maybe that's the route to go. Maybe start a playlist and find other people's clean hip hop and then start putting your stuff on that playlist as well. That way, they may be going there to hear people they're already familiar with or people that are popular and have a brand, have a following. But by you attracting people to your playlist with that branding, clean hip hop, and you're on that list with other people who are, I guess for lack of a better way to say it, above you, more popular than you, more well known than you, then you get sucked up into that vortex along with them. Oh, wow, never thought of that. Well, I just did, so that'll be $25, please. That's right. There's also gospel-friendly hip-hop, I think. I think you're right about that. Shirelli is like the king of mixing gospel records. Like, just amazing amount of work he does in the gospel area. So, yeah, there's my advice right there. Now, once you build that playlist, it's just out there in the ether. It's like putting a lemonade stand on the surface of the moon. If there's no traffic going by, nobody's going to buy your playlist. Buy your lemonade. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. Anybody who knows me well knows that I can only handle like one stream of information at a time. So then you've got to use social media and every other thing you can think of to get people to check out that playlist. Definitely, you would want to be posting on TikTok. You'd want to be posting on Instagram. You'd want to be posting on Twitter. You'd want to be posting on Facebook. And honestly, clean hip hop is such a good, easy way to brand. I don't know that you need to do much else. If you are able to get some really good people on your playlist that are well known, maybe a post like clean hip hop featuring artist ABC and XYZ. So that way people go, oh, I know those. People who identify with that genre and enjoy it would go, oh, I know that artist. I'm going to go check out that playlist. So there you go. Now I have what the follow-up to that is, what has been holding you back, spiritual, from doing it up until now? What is your obstacle? You're welcome. $25. Kidding. Could I describe the attributes of Phil Spector? He and Phil Ramone are my favorite producers. Remind me later in the show about that. That's a whole other show. I don't know. I think I've told you guys. I get Christmas cards from Phil Spector from jail. I really, truly do. Yeah, I'd hold one up and show you, but I think the last one I saved is actually sitting at my desk somewhere in my office, at the office that we're not allowed to go to. I'm pretty much a one-man band, so hard doing everything yourself. That is the big lie. On one hand, the internet makes it possible for anybody to do anything, certainly musical artists. And, we've certainly seen examples of artists who've made it on the internet and then got picked up. Usually they get picked up by a major label after they build enough of a following that the label sees dollar signs, wants to pour more gas on the smoldering fire and make a bonfire. So let me think about this for a minute. You need to make a to-do list. First thing you need to do, by the way, is put a post-it note on your bathroom mirror. Not 20 post-it notes, maybe one or two or three. You don't want to over-infect your brain with stuff. Put a post-it note on your bathroom mirror that you look at every morning when you brush your teeth or shave, which I did not today, and write your goal. You could probably have two post-it notes on there. One with your big, hairy, audacious goal, your overarching goal, which is to get 1 million streams on Spotify. Okay, so make that the thing that's 6 inches higher than your head. You got to see it every day. It does seep in. Osmosis makes that seep into your brain and will enable you to accomplish that. Then you should probably put up a daily goal. What are you going to do tomorrow? So tomorrow, going to set up a TikTok account. And after you set up the account, spend 3 hours, which is not hard to do on TikTok. Spend 3 hours on TikTok, noticing what musical artists do and what makes them make, and write down notes about this. What makes them appealing? What are they doing that makes their stuff remarkable, where one person remarks to another, where it's infectious, you can't get enough of it, where you can't stop watching it? So write that down as your first goal, and then for the next day, write down your daily goal should be set up a Twitter account, and then start to understand how hashtags work on Twitter. And know that it's not easy to get 1,000 people to follow you on Twitter, or 5,000 or 10,000. It takes time. None of this stuff is easy. Post-its do work. Why set up TikTok? Because TikTok is in the habit of breaking songs these days. You prefer live musicians as opposed to dead ones, Andre? I know you didn't say that. I'm inserting a joke because I'm feeling really funny. You know why? Because of these. Okay, million streams equals $5,000. Well, honestly, that seems like that's a nice goal. It's a good place to start, but it feels a little low. I mean, you're not going to be able to live for a year on $5,000. You could live for a month on $5,000, but not for a year and not for a lifetime. But you got to start somewhere. So that's an achievable goal, I think. And that's a good thing about goals, is write down big, hairy, audacious goals that are also achievable. And they should be specific, not general, to say, I'm going to be the greatest musical artist in history. Everybody wants to be the greatest musical artist. So, you got to be specific. I'm going to be the next great hip-hop songwriter. I'm going to get 5 instrumental cues done in the next 30 days. Goals that are achievable and specific. See ya, Martin Gravel. So, too many things going on at the same time tonight. I'll catch up with the archive. Okay. Peter Rahill, good to the very last hop. Yeah, my headache is gone. Thanks for asking. Okay, so there we go. So we've gotten off to a good start with spiritual. Check. All right, who put down the goal to write like a professional and get stuff in sync? Next case. If you need a motivational speaker, go check out Stephen, what's his name? Guy that wrote the 3 books that are really good. The guy who's got stage fright. Is Artist PR still in business? Now serving number 51. Okay, Alex Dillon said that. Okay, try to write like a pro and get stuff in sync. So writing like a pro is a little broad. What kind of pro do you... honestly, I would pick one, or if you mean by writing like a pro, like, being a pro songwriter like Jason Blum, he is primarily in the business, almost entirely in the business of writing songs for pop artists. So you should narrow your thought and try and clearly define, I want to be the next great pop songwriter for artists like X, Y, and Z. Or I want to learn how to write songs that are eminently syncable, if that's your goal. Stephen Pressfield, thank you. Yeah, go buy Stephen Pressfield's books. Hey, Dino. Stephen Covey's books, not bad. I'm a bigger fan of Stephen Pressfield. I guess I can only do instrumental music. So is that what you want to do? Is you want to do instrumental music and become really, really good at it and eventually earn your entire living from getting placements with instrumentals? Um, okay, so right now you do, and I'm talking to Alex Dillon, right now you do instrumental stuff, and you'd also like to collaborate so that you can expand and do lyrics and vocals. Okay, let's stick with instrumentals. Honestly, this is going to be repetitive because I've said it a million times on the show. But if you don't have Dean Crepane's books, which if you hang on, I will go grab them and hold them up. Or not. I'll be right back. Promise. All right, well, I've got a big stack of books in a mail bin over there, and I don't have the time to go rifling through all of them. Okay, Demystifying the Genre by that guy right there, that happy dude. Demystifying the Genre and Demystifying the Cue. If you don't have these two books, you're cheating yourself. Also, this book, really hard to do things in reverse. I can barely do them not in reverse. Buy these three books. You're just absolutely hurting yourself if you don't have these three books. Seriously, if you read Demystifying the Cue, Demystifying the Genre, and Writing Production Music for TV by Steve Barden, and I'm not recommending these books because Dean's in the chat room or because Steve Barden is a regular on Taxi TV, or that both these guys are good friends of mine. They are good friends of mine because they do quality work, and I've adored watching them achieve what they set out to do. So, yeah, Alex Dillon, if you get those books, promise me that you'll get those books really quickly and make a point of I mean, Dean's books are such an easy read that I mean, you can get through either one of those books in a weekend easily. And your head's going to be exploding. You're going to feel like you are 5 years further ahead from where you are right now. You're going to have a roadmap. You're going to a roadmap about the music. So, you know, after watching all these episodes of the Quarantini Happy Hour and Taxi TV, hearing music that we've played, hearing the examples in Dean's book, you're going to go, oh, now I know what to do. So there you go. That's your starting point. And then from there, it's just a matter of making mistakes over and over and then fixing the mistakes. Do what we recommend all the time, which is go into the peer-to-peer section of the Taxi Forum at forums.taxi.com. Submit music for custom critiques at Taxi. Utilize the feedback that you get from the screeners when you make submissions. Don't be devastated, heartbroken, or suicidal, God forbid, when you get rejected, because every rejection is just one step closer to success. And the first year of doing it will test your mettle. It really will. You will probably not get many forwards. You will probably not get many or any deals. Just know that first year is your year of education and finding your compass so you can set your path. You're going to need to determine what your best genre is, what you're best at. That's where you need to start. Don't try and do big orchestral cues if what you're good at is doing, lazy acoustic country, the sun is coming up. Kind of, look at the two different types of things that Steve Barden did on the show recently. So pick one that you think is in your wheelhouse and go for that and get really good at that genre. Once you start to get forwards in that genre, then look for derivatives. They're like, if you're already doing like acoustic guitar cues, just like, emotionally uplifting, light, breezy acoustic guitar cues, as I like to say. And you're getting good at that. Well, what else could you do with that same instrumentation, those same settings, on your sessions? You could do country acoustic cues. You could do Americana acoustic cues. So there you go. Next. Okay, let's see. More deals, more placements, and better placements. Who was it that said that? Michael looks like an angel. There you go. Ah. Um, Same instrument. Yeah, you know what? If you get a great acoustic guitar sound and it's for a light, breezy, strummy acoustic cue, well, if you're going to do a country cue, that guitar sound would probably work for that. It would certainly work for 5 more different acoustic cues, right? You could do a contemplative cue. You could do a sad, depressing cue that all have an acoustic guitar. You've already got your level set. You've already got your compressor set. You've already got your EQ set. You've already got the right microphone at the right distance. Why reinvent the wheel? Why not just do more cues using that as your starting point? Kara says, time for my pose for Ariana. Okay. I can't pose. I think ML looks like Hugh Hefner. There you go. Not so much. Reuben Walton, moving into your dorm room at Musicians Institute on August 1st. Do you really think that's going to happen? I hate to be a pessimist, but most colleges are doing remote stuff. A dorm room? I don't know. Personally, I would probably do it. Not that scary to me, but wear a mask, wash your hands like 100 times a day. Something else that I do, I don't know, but when I go to the grocery store figuring maybe I breathed in the virus at the grocery store, I come home and spray, what's my favorite thing? I don't have it sitting on the counter. What's the zinc stuff that I use that I love? It's like $11 for a little spray bottle of that stuff. Why can I not think of it? Zycam, thank you. You know what? Zinc kills a lot of viruses. It certainly kills the cold virus. So I just, Clorox, there you go. Guzzle that Clorox. When I get home from the grocery store, anywhere out in public, I take the old Zycam, spray 3 sprays in my mouth. Couldn't hurt, right? Huff some Clorox. If I don't let everybody know that's a joke, somebody will do it and I'll get in trouble. Lasco kills another chat room member for recommending that they huff Clorox. The dorms are open, just the on-campus classes are closed currently. So why would you come to town though to stay in the dorm if the classes are online? I don't understand, but that's a whole other thing. All right, so who was it said more deals, more placements, and better placements? Was that Darren? Now's a good time to buy stock in big pharma. Yeah. I've been watching the Gilead stock and one of the other stocks, people working on virus stuff. Go for the COVID-19 parties. Yep, there you go. Not Darren Moss. Jim, Dina, Asia Guideline. He bought his 2 books and they were stolen where? From your front door? Yeah, I didn't go to class much either. Yeah, the first year in college, I spent the whole year in my dorm room doing what college students do with other male college students, listening to music and watching people inhale marijuana. I've personally never inhaled this stuff. Anyway, yeah, and then I got a job working in the studio not long after that. I barely went to classes ever. I would go register and not go to classes. I would show up and take the tests. On a multiple choice test, I would just sit there and go, bink, 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 bink. I had to repeat my senior year because I ended my first senior year with a 1.997 average. You needed a 2.0 to graduate, so I actually had to go back for a partial fifth year to get my diploma. Jim Stamper. Okay, so Jim Stamper says that he wants to get more deals, more placements, and better placements. Well, the better placements thing, when you said that, I actually thought to myself, better placements is something that's kind of out of your control. There are some libraries that tend to get maybe higher dollar value placements, but they're fewer and farther between. So what you really want to do is get your music into as many libraries as you can and just know that it all adds up. I mean, some of the most successful Taxi members, guys like Chuck Henry, Matt Hurt, Matt Vanderbo, all those guys, they get their music pretty much into every library they can. And look, many of the libraries won't pan out for you, but you don't know until you're in them. So let's say that you've got half your music in exclusive libraries and half in non-exclusives. That's a good blend. And I would say get your music into at least 10 different libraries. That way you're going to get more placements, going to get more deals by submitting to more opportunities. And the way you get more deals after that is every time that a library reaches out to you and says, yo, Jim Stamper, I really like that piece. Nowadays, more than likely, they're going to say to you, do you have an album full of that stuff? Or do you have any more pieces like that? Why, yes, I do. Don't use that opportunity right in that moment to say, and by the way, I also do this, and I also do that, and I also do the other thing. That's like asking for more than a kiss on the first date, right? So just be happy with that you've gotten past a handshake. Now you've moved up to the kiss of COVID-19. And wait until they ask you or you suggest to them if it feels like the conversation's wrapping up, say, by the way, I've got more in this style. Would you like to hear it? And of course, they're going to say yes. So after they accept that other stuff, they're probably going to reach out to you and say, what else do you do? And if they don't, just lay back a little bit. Don't be too pushy about it. Like I said, wait for the second or third date and then say, by the way. But don't rattle off like 10 genres that you think you can do. Pick one or two that you absolutely know that you can do and do well. And if you've been fortunate enough to get those genres and maybe some other libraries, you could say to this new library owner that you're now working with, by the way, I did an album of, emotionally upbeat acoustic guitar stuff about 6 months ago that got picked up by a library. Would you be interested in me showing you some of that type of stuff that I can do? Or do you need any of that to round out your library? Okay, so that's that. As far as the better placements go, that's really up to the libraries. So you want to get your stuff in as many. You could get stuff into a library that's well known for getting $3,500 to $5,000 song syncs and broadcast primetime broadcast network dramas. But they're going to be fewer and farther between. So if you've also got instrumental stuff that could be your bread and butter income earning stuff in reality shows, do it all. All right. Somebody said get at least one placement. Who was that said that? Pete Mason just saw Wilson on the vase. He showed up yesterday or the day before, I think. You're welcome, Jim. Okay, that was Bob Gunnerfeld. So, Bob Gunnerfeld, what do you feel is the biggest obstacle to you getting your first placement? Have you had anything signed to a library yet? That would be good to know. Have you had any forwards? Give me a little history there, Bob. That was for you, Ariana. I tried to be pleasant looking. No deals, some forwards. All right. How many is some? Is that three or is it 19? I like what Mark Reel just put in the chat room. 40% of musicians with a college degree in music, Juilliard, Berkeley, etc., make a living in music, mostly teaching. Therefore, Taxi is a great opportunity. Keep plugging away. I agree. So Bob has had 8 forwards. Okay, so that's a good starting point, you know? It may not be enough. It is a numbers game, and it's not like there's a magic number that you have to hit. Oh, look at that. You've had 19 forwards. Therefore, you're going to get a deal. As I said to a Taxi member that had a couple hundred forwards or better, like a year ago, and he was just despondent over the fact that his music kept getting forwarded and no deals. And I called the guy, super nice guy, and I said, you know, I hope you're not thinking that we're forwarding your stuff out to the universe, that there's really no like company on the receiving end. He said, no, that thought hadn't crossed my mind. But why? Why am I not getting any deal offers? And it came down to most of what he was doing was kind of new agey stuff or droney stuff, both of which we get tons of submissions for, and we forward a lot of it. And frankly, it's all, I've said this on the show before, that it's all so good if we forward it. Let's say we get in 400 submissions for drones for a particular listing. We might forward 160, maybe more of those drones. So now you're the person on the receiving end, and you probably find enough good drones in the first 5, 10, or 20 that you listen to. They're not going to keep listening, probably. Some people may, most people won't. If they have an intern working for them, at that point they might say, can you please go through these and see if there's anything else in there that's different or better than these that I've already picked. What is your genre that you got those forwards in? It's true. Last man standing wins. I always say the last guy to walk off the field wins the game every time. It's the only reason Taxi is still here is because I just refused to give up. There were plenty of times where I just wanted to curl up in the fetal position and call it a day and go, oh, well, I failed. But you know what? I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of my children, and I didn't want to set a bad example for them. One of the happiest moments of my life was when one of my daughters said to me one night, out of the clear blue, she goes, Dad, you know what? I feel like I can succeed at anything I want to do in life. And I said, really? Why is that? She said, because I watched you do it. And I know that if you just work hard enough and you don't give up, you can succeed. That was like a gift from God for me. I love that moment. So Bob Gunnerfeld, you're mostly getting forwards on tension cues, orchestral and hybrids. So that must mean you're pretty good, because it's hard to get forwards on orchestral stuff. You have to know what you're doing. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, Bob. It's just a matter of time, and I can say that with a certain. There's nothing that's absolutely guaranteed in life. But if you've gotten 8 forwards on that kind of stuff, you just need to up the amount of that stuff that you're doing, because you're definitely getting better. I don't even need to listen to it to know that you're getting better every time you do it. You just need to make more of it and get it out there. Tension cues are great. There's always a market for that. Orchestral stuff, people always need it. A lot of the orchestral stuff people have in their catalogs is frankly old and tired. How soon after the forwards are announced do they get sent to the client? Generally pretty darn quickly. Sometimes the same hour or the same minute or the same day, usually no more than the day later. Like if you guys got the forward notices late in the day, then the forwards may be sent to the client the next morning. But if you got the forward notice in the morning, chances are the forwards got sent to the listing company that day. You're welcome, Bob. You know, I'm so proud of you. If you're getting forwarded for orchestral stuff, dude, you are on the right track. That's probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest genre to master. We need a speed writing session at the road rally so we can catch up to Matt Vanderbo and Marcus. I honestly don't know how those guys do it. I mean, I know both of them actually just said, I'm going to friggin' do this. They made a mental commitment and they just stayed the course and they didn't give up. They didn't walk off the field. All right, let's do another couple of these. Get placements and launch a jazz record. Okay, who said that? Who's our jazz person? That was Pierre. Okay, hi Pierre. First of all, what kind of jazz are you doing? And are you doing like jazz cues, jazz instrumentals, or jazz songs, you know, like full length jazz pieces? And do you do jazz with vocals or without? That would all be great information to me for me to know. I can hear my wife upstairs on the phone with our web developer. Isn't that funny? I've got my wife being project manager for web development at Taxi. She knew nothing about this stuff a year ago. It's amazing how far she's come. And she gets these guys to do stuff. Stuff that they wouldn't do for me, they do for her. Okay, modern jazz instrumentals, some smooth jazz also. All right, so let's think about this for a minute. I would go for jazz placements first. Here's why. If to launch a jazz record, I mean, you could launch. A friend of mine just put out a record. I think I told you of like Brazilian, like bossa nova kind of stuff. That's Brazilian, right? Yeah. Da, 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 da. Girl from Ipanema. Oh man, now we can't monetize. I just sang part of the line from Girl from Ipanema. Anyway, it's that kind of stuff. And he made the record just for fun, just for his own fun. And it came out really, really good. He then hired a jazz radio promoter. But see, the jazz radio promoter, this particular one, is somebody who used to screen at Taxi and who has actually run listings for with Taxi over the years and has been on panels at the road rallies. This guy won't just take any old project just because you're paying him money. And I think it's like, I want to say $2,500 to hire him as a radio promoter. But he knows all the people in the world of jazz. I mean, like all of them. And he's a good guy. He's a trustworthy guy. So that guy serviced radio and playlists and online, streaming services with this new record. And mostly it went to smooth jazz stations. And the record, frankly, is not smooth jazz. Well, the joke is that my friend's record, I think 2 weeks ago now, was the most added single at Smooth Jazz Radio. I've mentioned this on the show before. But he had to have the high quality record first. So we can still monetize this, yay, because they heard my singing and felt sorry for me. Anyway, so here's the thing. I believe that the smart way to go is to do your jazz and do jazz that would work well in the film TV placement realm, because if you reach out to a small indie jazz label, which most of them are at this point, there are a few majors, but not many, and say, I've had a bunch of placements with my jazz, all of a sudden they're interested in you because if they sign you to a record deal, maybe they can get placements with the jazz that they now control by virtue of signing you to a deal. So there you go. I would go for that first. I will tell you that in my personal observation that the majority of jazz that gets used in film and TV is background type music. It's often cocktail jazz in bar scenes and lobby scenes, elevators, restaurants, fine dining restaurants. So if you can do simple cocktail jazz, it could be a trio, it could be, frankly, it could be just solo piano. We have a member named Bob Meddy who's done really, really well with that. Bill Gordon, another one of our members. Those guys are probably the most frequently placed jazz guys, and they get some really good placements, and it's because they've got solo piano stuff for the most part. I think both of them have stuff that may be trio oriented, but they get these placements because their music is just usable. You hear it and you go, oh yeah. If I were having dinner with my wife for our 20th anniversary, sitting in a restaurant with roses on the table, that's the music that would be playing, either by a guy sitting at a piano 20 feet away or coming through those cheesy round speakers in the ceiling. So I would do that and start getting placements. And then while you're doing that stuff, you've already got your mics picked out. You've already got your level set. You've already got your EQ. You've already got your reverb. So by day, work on the instrumentals and cues. And then at night, work on the grand opus, right? And do your album in pieces. Think of a salami. Take it once. You can't shove a whole salami. Well, you could, but it would look bad and it would be really hard to swallow a whole salami in your mouth. So if you want to eat a salami, how do you do it? One slice at a time. But again, start out with the Post-it notes on the mirrors, on the mirror, I mean. So every morning when you brush your teeth or shave, you're seeing that little reminder, and don't take it off. You may grow numb to it after a while. Change the color of the Sharpie that you wrote it in. Change the color of the Post-it. Do whatever you can to make sure that that thing draws your attention, if only for a second every morning, to plant that little seed right up there in your noggin to keep you on track. So I hope that helps. Okay, let's move on. This one I know came from Keith LeBrant. This will be our last one of today's show, but I will pick up where we left off tomorrow. Jazz Salami, there you go. Yeah, Kira Canyon says, could it be that Pierre's jazz is too good? It won't be played in background if it's too good. Yeah, I hate to say that there's such a thing as too good. Too complex is probably a better way to describe it. They don't want music that tries to be the star of the scene. You want music that sets a mood, that lays in the background. And nobody's going to know it's you that played that simple, stupidly simple little jazz piece that anybody could play. But remember, it is about the feel and setting the emotion. So don't try and show them you're the greatest composer in the world. I know that Bill Gordon and I talk about that all the time, and I'm not telling tales out of school, but he's learned over time, simple is better. He will tell you that virtually all the stuff that he's gotten placements from has been his simpler stuff. And he's an incredibly good composer and an incredibly skilled pianist. Keith LeBrant wants to make enough money with his music to retire. Honestly, Keith, I have no good advice for you because I think you're doing everything perfectly. You're holding down a day job. You're raising a wonderful family. You're a good guy. You're good to your friends. Everybody who knows you adores you. And you work on your music all the time. Look at all the placements. You've had 800 placements, or no, music on 800 shows, right? 800. That's probably a record. It's certainly up there in the top, echelon of taxi members. You're being focused. You're being productive. You are recognizing the genres that you're good in that are also the genres that the industry wants. You're doing everything exactly right. All you can do is stay the course. You are the hood ornament on the car that all other taxi drivers want to drive. I'm not just saying those to be kind. I'm not just saying those nice things about you to be kind. I'm saying them because they're absolutely true. Um, Dean knows you well. He would definitely vouch if he can get his butt off that bicycle for a minute and type, yes, Michael's right. Keith is a wonderful guy. Oh, man. The hood ornament on the taxi. That's right. All right. So I just made a little star by Make a Living at Songwriting, which is where we will pick up tomorrow. Um, Nobody ever graduates from Taxi University. They just they stick around campus because it's too much fun to leave. It's a family. It's a club. It's a cult. All right. Any quick questions before we go? We got 2.5 minutes left to go. Taxi for life. You are absolutely welcome, Keith. Dean Crepane says yes to everything I said. Do I have a winner from yesterday? That's Ariana's area. I don't know if she picked anybody or not yet. Taxi me, taxi you. Hang around the taxi dorm room. Wouldn't you like to go back to your college dorm? I actually went to a couple different boarding schools. First one, my junior year in high school, I went to a snooty rich kids boarding school, and I was not snooty, nor was I rich. But I begged my parents to get me out of the little farm town I grew up in, and I regret the fact that they spent $3,000 to send me to this school. I mean, I was by far not the richest kid at that school. My family was, middle class all the way. But the son of the CEO of Sears went to the school. There was a senator's kid that went to the school. I was definitely not one of the rich kids. But the dorm, it was on the estate of the Armor Meat Company. J. Ogden Armor donated his estate in Lake Forest, Illinois, to the school. And my dorm room was in a horse stable out in the woods that had been converted to a dorm for like 20 people. And we each had our own, I think all of us had private rooms. Maybe a couple guys had roommates at that school. Yeah, and that would have been 1970. The school year of 1970 to 71. Let's just say that I did not get a lot of work done. I spent a lot of time in that dorm room staring at the ceiling, which may or may not have been moving a lot, if those of you who know what I'm talking about. That was a wasted year. I really just pissed away my parents' money. And then ultimately the school sent my parents a letter, said, we don't think your son really got that much out of the school. We strongly recommend that he doesn't come back next year. So I either had to go back to the high school in my little farm town, which I really didn't love that high school. 2,000 kids, just a lot of jerks in that school. So the other option was to go to an all-Catholic boys boarding school. In case I've never mentioned it before, I'm Jewish. So I was the only Jewish kid at a school with 400 Catholic kids. And they could not have been any nicer. We got along great. I played guitar for masses. I got off for Christian holidays. I got off for Jewish holidays. I had a good senior year. We actually built a log cabin. That school, too, was on a big rural property. It was surrounded by cornfields and woods. And the senior boarding boys built a log cabin from scratch out in the middle of the woods. And we would go there every day after class. Bob Gunnerfeld got kicked out of college in 1968. My kind of guy. Dean says, if you remember your dorm room, you weren't there. The school did give Michael a return. One quick story before we go, really quick. They had a beat-up pickup truck. You could opt to be part of the apple picking crew. They had apple orchards. So I was part of the apple picking crew And the apple, we would make apple cider. They had a big cider press in a building, an old stone building. So I learned how to make apple cider. And of course, we would take jugs as apple cider, put it in a log cabin, let it ferment, and go out there and drink that crap and just get drunk as a skunk on just rank apple cider. Anyway, one day I was driving like the 1948 Ford pickup truck that the school owned, and the brakes went out on the thing. I flung open the door and jumped out of this thing doing like 30 miles an hour in the middle of a cornfield, and just got harpooned by, remains of corn husks, or not husks, but the stalks. And the truck actually kept going, hit a tree, bounced off the tree, went over a cliff and into a ravine. And that was one of the better days I had there. Anyway, enough of my fun stories about my senior year in high school. I will see you guys tomorrow. We will pick this up right where we left off. Hopefully it's helpful to you guys. It's helpful to me. I want to know more about you, what your goals are. It will help me to serve you better. So with that, I bid you one and all a fond farewell until we meet again tomorrow for another... Whoops, hold on, I forgot to say, like us if you haven't already. Hit that red subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already, which I know all of you guys are. And see you tomorrow, all right? Bye, you guys. You're welcome.